Hi, I'm Kathy Welder. I'm a senior lecturer at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. My primary teaching responsibility is to direct the undergraduate organic chemistry teaching labs year-round. I also teach the Organic Chemistry 2 lecture course in a flipped format, and today I'd like to introduce you to the concept of backward design. By the end of this presentation, you will be better able to define backward design and to identify the 3 stages of backward design. I'd like you to pause the video just for a minute and take the time to write down what approaches you might use to design a new course. It could be a course that you've already taught or something that would be new to you to teach. What would you do to get started? If you don't have a good plan, it might be that you end up saying ready, fire, without aiming for particular learning goals for your students. This is where backward design comes in. From the book Scientific Teaching, backward design is defined as designing instructional materials by first setting learning goals and then designing classroom activities so that students can meet those goals. From the book Understanding by Design, you would first think about specific learnings sought and the evidence of such learnings before thinking about teaching and learning activities. From Understanding by Design, then the 3 stages of backward design are to first identify the desired results. You can think of those as goals, objectives, or outcomes. I'll define those more clearly in just a minute. In the second stage of design, you would determine acceptable evidence, or the assessment of the desired learning goals. And for the final stage, you would plan learning experiences and instructional activities. So let's look more closely at goals versus objectives versus outcomes. Some authors use those terms interchangeably. In learning assessment techniques, the authors state that assessment language generally moves from the general, goals, to the specific, outcomes. DePaul University has a good website in which they share teaching resources, and on their website they define learning goals, objectives, and outcomes a little differently. The learning goals describe what we want students to learn. They're broad statements, they're typically written from the instructor's or the institution's perspective, and they give the general content and direction of a learning experience. Learning objectives are a little more specific than goals, statements of what you intend to teach or cover in a learning experience, but they don't necessarily include an observable or measurable result. Learning outcomes describe in observable and measurable terms what a student is able to do as a result of completing a learning experience. Please pause the video again and take a minute or so to write down some of the advantages of using learning outcomes. Think about these advantages both to the faculty and to students. Here are some of the items that I came up with. In terms of student benefits, the students will know what's expected if they can read a list of desired learning outcomes. They can focus more productively in their study time, and they can assess themselves. I do provide my students with learning outcomes, and I encourage them to read those outcomes as they're preparing for quizzes or tests. Could they do the things listed on the sheet? If not, they know where to study. In terms of instructor benefits, if you have a plan and you have desired learning outcomes, then you're going to be teaching what really matters to you if you're sticking to your plan. Having desired learning outcomes can help you write homework, exams, and design instruction at an appropriate level. Looking at the broader picture, having desired learning outcomes clearly specified for a course will help you align your course with others. For example, general chemistry is typically a prerequisite for organic. Organic is often a prerequisite for biochemistry. It's important that the instructors of various courses know what was taught previously and what will be taught next. But learning outcomes are different than a list of topics to be covered, such as chapter titles. We're not talking about just listing the table of contents from a textbook and calling those desired learning outcomes. In summary, backward design refers to first thinking about what you want students to learn, then thinking about how you will assess learning, and then determining how you will assist students in the learning. Those are the 3 stages of backward design. In the next video, I'll talk more about the major categories of significant learning, and we'll construct and critique desired learning outcomes. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge the instructional designers at Dartmouth College. Adrian Gauthier and Aaron De Silva in particular were very helpful to me in transforming my course at Dartmouth. I also consult with the DECAL staff, in particular Cindy Rosalbo and Prue Merton. And here are many of the resources that I used to understand more about backward design.